Come. It is time to keep your appointment with the Wicker Man.
Hello, welcome to Cheap Scares, the horror movie podcast that stems from the filth taught here in this very schoolroom. I'm David Schneider.
And unfortunately, Mr. Schneider, it seems you have fallen into our trap because you are exactly what we needed from a host. You came here of your own free will. You have the power of an editor. You are... Actually, these fall apart the instant I go past that one. Hello, I'm Sibyl Arnett.
I definitely not stepping in any men made of wicker. I can guarantee you that. So yeah, it's the Wicker Man.
The original.
Yes, the original from 1973. It is technically a British film, I believe, but it was entirely filmed in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, directed by Robert Hardy, screenplay by Anthony Schaefer, I believe based very loosely on the novel Ritual by David Pinner. And also, a credit we're probably not going to bring up in too many movies, the score for this movie was composed by Paul Giovanni. And it is important to note this because one thing that I completely forgot about The Wicker Man is that it's a musical.
And a pretty good one, honestly.
Yeah, on the surface, it kind of seems like it's pulling a genre twist as it goes through. But it also kind of not. This is a very strange movie. I don't know if I've ever seen anything else quite like it.
I would be hard pressed to find a comparison.
Yeah. Basically, it's just you could watch any scene and mostly on mute. And it just seems like it's maybe like a pleasant little drama about small town life. It is not that.
Yeah, you're right. If I had no idea what they were saying, this would seem like, other than two scenes, just a very little slice of life.
I mean, there's definitely a few scenes that would maybe tip you off that something else is going on, like when he yells at a bunch of school children.
Oh no, the one I was thinking of was when he was trying to sleep.
Yeah, that's we'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's an interesting mix of just gorgeous scenery shots, just like a little bit of intrigue under the surface. It's would you call it a pot boiler?
I think so. Just
it kind of starts at nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't. I find it hard to call it a standard mystery because it is throwing a lot of red herrings at you and overtly lying. So a thriller or a potboiler probably the best fit.
Yeah, I could see mystery for sure. I think it's got enough going on in there that you could piece it all together by the end.
One last thing about the score. I actually came to this movie the first time because the Sneaker Pimps did a cover of one of the tracks from this score, which led me back to this film in the late 90s. And so thank you to all the weirdness of Britain for just carrying me to this movie. Never thought I could have made that connection on a horror podcast, but I did.
Yeah, this this is a tape that I found in a very exclusive collection of movies, which I'm going to describe as films available for rent in the Hollywood Video in Silver Spring, Maryland, between 1998 and 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's most of my early horror movie viewing was from that wonderful group, somewhat self-selected.
Makes sense.
Random little holes here and there, like I never saw. They never had A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 in stock, so it's just like whatever tapes didn't get stolen. We kick things off with a sort of dedication on the screen, which it says, "The producer would like to thank the Lord Summerisle and the people of his island off the west coast of Scotland for this privileged insight into their religious practices and for their generous cooperation in the making of this film." So this is just a lie.
But it is a
This is not-
wonderful swerve if you don't know what's going on as you come in.
True. It's just, there's a long running sort of, it kind of feels like an inside joke, or it would if it didn't also sometimes just seem like fraud, where horror movies will they'll just tell you it's real, not even like based off a true story, or which is usually like based off of one thing that happened to one guy sometime near a place.
Somebody told the cops this once, might have been drunk.
Yeah. There was a doll involved. That sort of thing.
I was trying not to say The Conjuring, but yeah.
But yeah, so if this were true, there is absolutely no way in hell or whatever you believe in, I guess, this small religion would cooperate on account of that there is a murder.
It's okay. They only took the religion. They didn't take all the details.
I'm gonna go ahead and call that one no. I'm just gonna say no.
All right.
So yeah, we kick things off for real. There's some really gorgeous helicopter shots of it's a small seaplane taking off and just sort of making its way through some of these Scottish Isles.
And a wonderful electric flute solo over it.
Yeah, this is the first of the many folk songs that we hear. A lot of the soundtrack was sort of mixed together from like both old folk songs and sometimes just the lyrics with new compositions. A couple of just like completely original songs. Let's see. The first song that we hear is just runs for a minute. It is the Highland Widow's Lament, and it quickly changes into what is basically the theme song for the first 15 minutes of the movie, which is called Corn Rigs. This is one of the songs where the lyrics are from it's late 18th century Scotland, so they may as well be singing another language. It's corn rigs and barley rigs, and corn rigs are bonny. Like, I recognize all of those words, but when you put them together like that, I have no idea what that's supposed to mean.
On this island, it's probably sexual.
Yeah, it mentions a few times, like, something about a time that the singer had in the corn rigs with Annie. So it's probably a tryst of some sort.
These are Tristan Isles, you hear.
Oh, these are incredibly trysting isles. So yeah, the plane eventually lands. Well, does it count as landing if you land in the water?
I think if a seaplane doesn't crash, it is a landing.
Okay, I'll accept it on a technicality. This is right by the harbor masters, and there are a couple of elderly gentlemen just sort of standing there watching. And we get our first look at our main character, Sergeant Howie, played by Edward Woodward. He would like a dinghy, please.
And immediately, the Isles residents are having a piss fight with the cops because, we're sovereign here.
Yeah. It's private property. I can't send you a dinghy. But he does eventually badger them into letting him on the island.
Yep.
Because he is here to investigate a report from a purported island resident. He received an anonymous communique. It is a missing child report. And so they go, okay, I guess. And they go bring him onto the shore. And this takes long enough for a lot more old men to just sort of cluster together.
I guess what are you doing if there's a seaplane blocking your boats from going out to fish?
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of hanging out there. It's pretty far from the shore. I think they're okay. But anyway,
I'm not an old man.
he has a photo of a young girl, 13-ish. It is Rowan Morrison, and everyone's like, I've never seen this girl before. Do you know? Have you seen her? No. Have you seen her? No. They pass it along, and it's really quite suspicious. And they don't know any Morrisons.
Oh, okay. No, I was going to say, eventually he says Morrison and mentions a mother, May Morrison?
It's only when he mentions the mother that they go, oh, right, Morrison, May Morrison, yes. She's that way. That's not her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes, and we walk through town as the Cornrigs song sort of just fades back in, and it's just like a nice little mood establishing shot. And he's walking down the street, and everybody's leaning out their windows to look at this strange man.
Interestingly, May Morrison is her shop is also the post office?
Yes, and also a sweets shop.
Yeah, when you walk in, it's basically that candy shop from Willy Wonka that they're at for the first act of that movie.
It's kind of terrifying. It's got like all kinds of like human shaped sweets and cakes and stuff, and like baby heads, a few skulls,
and some Watership Down ass chocolate rabbits.
No, those are hares.
It's true.
He is immediately corrected when he calls them rabbits. No, they're March hares.
Mm-hmm. But showing May the photo immediately gets up. Oh, I've got a daughter, but this isn't her.
Yeah, no, my daughter's right over here. And so we go inside just a little bit, and there's her actual daughter, Myrtle. Or she is painting, and it is another hare. And then a customer comes in, so he's left alone with her for a minute. She shoves a paintbrush, like the brush side, right into his hand. Is like, here, you can paint too. Blech.
It's an interesting scene because Myrtle seems innocent but off.
Just a little bit off, and it's just not everything is just a little bit off enough to, keep him around and assume that he is not being pranked.
Yeah, but she also says, nope, I don't know her.
Well, no, she does know Rowan. Rowan's out running in the fields. And so, yes, well, will she be back for tea? Hares don't have tea. And then her mother comes back in and just like shoves tea in his face until he leaves.
A thing that will happen a lot to poor off Sir Howie. A lot of tea for this guy.
I mean, considering the time and the place, it's what you do. It's this is how you are polite to the person that you don't want to be here. Tea.
Well, it's also the only drink he will accept when he is constantly offered harder substance. We're a tea or liquor aisle, sir.
So, after this fruitless conversation, it's late, and he goes to the local inn, the Green Man Inn.
Mm-hmm.
And they do the stereotypical Western thing where a character walks in, and the party atmosphere just completely dies to dead silence, and everyone stares at him.
Which, I guess when a cop walks in on your island without any policemen, you probably would go, huh?
Yeah. So he goes up and asks for a room from the innkeep, who is Alder McGregor, totally not evil.
He looks like he should be some kind of Lord of the Fae in a different horror movie.
He's got kind of a Snidely Whiplash look to him.
Oh, see, I thought sort of shrunken head proportions a little off.
We don't get a whole lot of him. He's just kind of off in the side of a few scenes, just sort of snickering. But what the character we do get a lot of is his daughter, Willow, who comes in, and she is, if you think like late 60s, early 70s model, that's her. It's big blonde hair, large lips. She's just it's the look that they were making fun of with the fembots in the first Austin Powers. Is basically like a way toned down version of that.
That's more tasteful than how I was going to say huge tracts of land like the island, but
well, we'll see more of those tracts of land, I guess. We'll get a tour of the grounds.
Good Lord, will we?
So anyway, an attractive young woman has come in, so the entire bar starts singing "The Landlord's Daughter," which is
I love this shanty.
An extremely raunchy little ballad about the strumpets of yore, and the landlord's daughter is just totally into it.
As kind of is the landlord.
Yeah, no, they both love it. Sergeant Howie is just barely tolerating his own presence in this scene. It's just the whole the lyrics are just boners and vaginas, just all the way. It's like the space between her left toe and her right toe is
And the scene is wonderful because two old men are recreating this with a first-person shot where one sticks out a foot and the other sticks out his foot, and they just wiggle it around in unison to the tune.
Yeah, it is. And everybody in there is dancing and having a great time, except for our main character.
And when we say this film is a musical, we're not joking, because this is just a whole 2-minute sequence where everyone is choreographed and there's a whole music video going on. It's real fun.
It is, but it is shortly interrupted by official business. He slams on the counter and goes, "I have this photo. Tell me about this photo." So as he's passing the photo around, he notices on the wall a bunch of photos of the Harvest Festival girls, but one of the spots is conspicuously empty. It was 1972, this year's Harvest Festival, and it got broke. Don't worry about it. Supper's ready.
And he takes it upstairs in his room, wanting to be nowhere near this.
Yep. He doesn't like it. They've just given him a lot of canned food.
Yeah, he gets a little snippy with Willow about, Harvest Island, you've just got a bunch of tinned beans, eh?
No apples. And he complains about the color of the broad beans. And Willow just replies, "Some things in their natural state have the most vivid colors." Whatever that means.
Yep. She also throws up a smoke screen with, "All the apples have been sent off for trade."
Yeah. Which is believable.
Mm-hmm.
And so after he finishes his meal, he goes outside for a walk, and well, there's just an orgy out there.
People be fucking.
People be fucking. Not one of the tunes in this movie.
I'm just imagining how much bawdier you would have to get if you went from Landlord's Daughter to escalate to People Be Fucking.
They're just right out there on the yard doing their stuff in front of God and everybody, and it's in slow motion as he just sort of stares, and he doesn't seem to know how to process this, so he just kind of wanders off to a graveyard which is nearby. Usually most of the people in the graveyard are, somber and presentable, and there's just one completely nude woman sobbing on a headstone.
Another one is watering a tombstone. That one stood out to me.
Yeah, we get more information on that later. But this is enough. He's had enough. He storms back into the inn, crashes back into his room, and then just before he's getting ready to bed, Willow, the hot young thing, she goes to retire in the next room, and she begins singing a song. The song is called Willow's Song. She is completely nude, and it's a lovely little tune, which is incredibly sexual.
And the thing that starts this off is she is pounding the walls to punctuate herself as she sings.
Yeah, she keeps doing that. The lyrics of the song are basically about her specifically asking him to come on over, and she'll show him things. Basically, we can do a sex together.
So,
and
a decade later, this would be the Billy Idol music video Rock the Cradle of Love, except in that song, both parties on each side of the wall were into it, and in this one, a cop is getting really sexually frustrated while a hot woman is banging on the walls.
Oh my god, he is on the verge of something. He is at the end of his rope. He is just rubbing his entire body against the wall in lust.
There's definitely some reach for the door. Don't reach for the door.
Oh no, I know. And this basically for the entire song he's doing this. So there's like a lot of hand job imagery in the lyrics and like what she's doing. She's just kind of wandering through the room and finding like the most phallic objects and just sort of like waving her hands near them suggestively. There was a cut line from the full version of this song, which did not make it into the movie version, which is how a maid can milk a bull, and every stroke a bucketful. So, not especially subtle.
What's left in the film is also very not subtle. This pretty much is People Be Fucking the track.
Anyway, he resists the temptation and goes to bed, and presumably has a very restless night. But then it's morning. Hey, get up, get up. Willow's here. Wake up, wake up. And she's like she's all but just like banging pans next to his head to wake him up.
Mm-hmm. Don't we have the little flash of dream? Is it before or after the conversation?
I don't know. I don't remember a flash of dream.
You see a little bit of what I presume from implication is his fiancée.
Well, there are a few different cuts of this movie. I'm not 100% sure we saw the same one, but
I was starting to wonder that in a couple of places, yeah. In my copy, at least, somewhere around here, I forget if it's as he's going down to sleep or a flash during their conversation. You see a shot of him with a woman, and they're just an implication that will be spelled out in a little of, this is my fiancé.
Yeah, no, I don't think we got... I didn't get that. I watched the one that's on Amazon Prime.
Got it. I rented from Apple Plus.
Gotcha. Yeah, the only flashback that I can recall was just a scene of him in church.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he does mention that he's
affianced,
sure. he does mention that after she asks, like, why didn't you stop by?
I have the line right here. I did invite you last night. Well, I'm engaged to be wed. Aye, and that stops ye.
No, he's waiting for marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, she tells him he should probably finish up his business and leave before tomorrow, which is May Day.
And so he decides to make one last sweep of the aisle, and he thinks the next place to go is the schoolhouse.
Mm-hmm. So there are some boys tied up to a pole. They're doing a maypole dance to a song called Maypole.
They can't all be winners.
Yeah, this one is basically about the circle of life, pretty much from conception to death.
We become the grass, other things eat it, yeah.
Somewhat more detailed than you would usually expect from a song sung by children nowadays. Around this part of the movie, he's just kind of starting to reach the end of his limit for this this disgusting filth. And so he finds a girls' class is in session inside the school, and the teacher, Miss Rose, is asking young Daisy. I think Daisy is the only one that gets like more than one line. She asks Daisy if she knows what the maypole represents, and she doesn't because she's stupid.
However, it's very easy to be reminded, it's the penis.
He's just like, oh, that's it. That's it. He takes Miss Rose out to talk to her.
The gun is good.
The gun is good.
The penis is evil.
And by God, he is going to report this to the proper authorities. It's everywhere he looks degeneracy. There's brawling in bars. There's indecency in public places. And finally, the corruption of the young, which stems from the filth taught here in this very schoolroom. Which it seems like a really extreme reaction to hearing the word penis once, I think. But
somewhere in this conversation, I believe, or maybe it was in the earlier flash. The flashes come in such a way that I'm not sure where they're cut in other than making note of them. We see that he was baptized and is a born-again Christian, and that comes up in discussion.
He storms back into the classroom, forcibly erases this filthy curriculum from the board to write Rowan Morrison. And like none of the girls recognize the name, but he's like, okay, what about that desk there where nobody's sitting? What's going on in there? And this is kind of creepy. He opens the desk and finds there's a nail driven into the interior of the desk, and tied to it as in like kind of a leash, just made of like a little bit of thread, is a beetle. And the beetle is winding its way around the nail, and Daisy says, the little old beetle goes round and round, always the same way, you see, until he ends up right up tight to the nail. Poor old thing.
Also, very maypole imagery.
Yes, he is not impressed. He's like, why would you do this? This is so... It's really weird.
Sergeant Howie is going more and more off his calm the longer this scene goes on. And it's not just the teacher getting to him, but it's the teacher he can yell at, unlike children.
Yes, he comes very close to yelling at Daisy here. But finally he demands to see the school register, and damned if he's going to get permission or a warrant or anything. So he just digs through the desk and pulls it out. And oh, hey, this is a name, Rowan Morrison, address post office. Mm-hmm. He just stares at them and goes, you are all despicable little liars.
I forget the line that leads into this, but I did write down, Well, she's either dead or she's not. Well, here we don't use that word.
Yes, Miss Rose takes him outside on account of him upsetting the children by yelling at them. And This is where she basically says that Rowan died, but they don't use the word, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
The soul returns to the atmosphere, and he's like, okay, so what about Jesus Christ? The general excuse that she uses is that kids are better able to understand reincarnation than resurrection, which is a thing that comes up a few more times throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, he does start asking, well, how much are your classes talking about the Lord Jesus? Very upset that Christ is not a part of the curriculum.
Christ is extremely not a part of this curriculum, to be fair.
No.
So he finally gets the closest thing to a straight answer he can out of her, which is he's asking, where is Rowan's body? And she says, right where you'd expect it to be, in the earth. He asks, you mean in the churchyard? In a manner of speaking.
Yes. Well,
It's
is
like,
it or isn't it?
Is it? Should you even call it a churchyard anymore now that we're not Christian? And then she's like, "Oh, right, bye." She leaves.
He's so mad that this island does not have a father.
It's the one thing keeping him like as a part of society, and they just don't have it here, and he doesn't know how to react.
Yeah, Howie gives off big, I was a lush, or I had an addiction, and I turned my life around with Jesus vibes. But he's the kind of person who very much runs to the pastor whenever he's out of his comfort zone. And right now, he's extremely out of his comfort zone with no one to turn to.
So, at the graveyard, there's a few more wonderful sights. There's a headstone that says protected by the ejaculation of serpents. I don't know what that means. Anyway, the important thing is there's a woman who is also in the graveyard who never says anything. In one hand, she's holding a baby that is breastfeeding, and in the other hand, she's just holding an egg. She's just got an egg out.
This random extra from a David Lynch movie is just chilling.
And she just kind of watches him for the entire rest of the scene. And
this movie does a lot of great things with extras who don't speak, just adding to the nature of the whole proceeding.
He finds some empty crates of apples, and he rips off some planks from them and forms a cross to leave it behind.
Yeah, just on a random stone.
Good job.
And then he finds the, ironically, the rowan tree that Rowan Morrison was under, which has an umbilical cord hanging from it, because why not?
Apparently hers.
Yep.
They keep those around, which it was a plot point in Silent Hill 4 that someone just kept an umbilical cord around for no readily apparent good reason.
Okay, I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, nobody does.
All right. Well, now I know what Sergeant Howie feels like.
Yeah, that game is a trip. Anyway, this is another straw that is on an already shattered back. So he charges back to the post office, where he finds that May is giving her real daughter, her alive daughter, the proper home remedy for a sore throat, which is sticking a live frog in her mouth for a few seconds, so the frog can take away her sickness. And he's just like, okay, you know what? No, and he just goes.
Yeah.
He also goes to the registrar.
Yeah.
He's flailing at this point. He has no idea what to do here. So he wants to see the death certificate for Rowan, and she stonewalls him until he just threatens her with immediate jail.
So what a lot of people are doing, what Miss Rose did, what the registrar is now doing, is saying, you'll have to get permission from Lord Summerisle, and he is refusing and saying that he has the right of the crown, the right of the lawman. But eventually, I think it is directly after this, he does go up to the manor.
Yeah, it's pretty shortly after this. I do have to mention the cool store, which he goes to,
right.
which it is where the photographs are developed, and it's got just all kinds of jars with the foreskins, dimethyl glyoxime, rat brains. There's like a dead 2-headed hamster, and just one of them just says brains.
Oh, my favorite is the one that says hearts.
Yep, hearts.
That's the one I wrote down you didn't mention.
There's like an aquarium right in front of the desk, or in front of the counter, that's just got like dead calves in it, I think.
And this guy is the village chemist / obviously, photographer and developer for anyone who might have a camera. So the purpose of the visit is, well, do you happen to have the negatives from all those Harvest Festival photos? Because there's one that's missing. Oh, no, sir, that would be lost. Why would we keep that around when we've got the copy?
And he pulls out the photo as usual and asks, was this the girl? And doesn't really get an answer.
Old.
Anyway, this is where he finally ends up heading out to the castle where Lord Summerisle he resides. He passes a ritual where I guess they're supposed to be nude, but the video quality is too good at this point. Some very scantily clad women dancing around a fire. There's like a Stonehenge sort of thing, and they're singing a song called Fire Leap, which is incomprehensible.
He also passes some penis-shaped bushes.
Yes, at least I noticed at least one. I did note that down.
Yeah, this film is great because even when he's walking around the island, something so completely strange is going to keep your eyes glued to the screen. There is no downtime if you want visuals or just some unnerving little detail to pop up.
So, the interior of this castle, I had to do like a double take when he went in there, because I immediately recognized it. So the layout for several of the rooms in the adventure game Grey Matter is exactly this, like the front hall stairway and the dining room are exactly that, from like the same angle even. There's a hearth. There's a couple shots of the hearth, which also resembles another room in that game. I was like, am I crazy? So I looked it up, and no, they like changed around like the props and stuff, but it is very clearly this, but then put in a video game 40 years later. The composer of that game had recently started up a folk band, and several of their songs are in that game. So I'm just going to go ahead and call that not a coincidence.
No, I feel like that's, unless this is some sort of famous manor that they might have found reference photos of, which it doesn't seem to be by all production notes I saw.
Yeah.
That's probably blatant theft.
I mean, it's the layout of a building. You can't get on them too much for it. It's just
Okay, I guess maybe
really...
if they kept, like, the crests of Lord Summerisle on the walls, then we'd have a problem.
no, it's not,
but
it's not that blatant.
Okay.
Homage,
then.
Like, there's a mansion that I've seen in, like, several anime, and, it is the mansion from Umineko When They Cry. And so that's one of the that I believe is one of the things that you were talking about, where it's just like a famous place that that is
All
free
reference,
to not free to use, but you are allowed to use it as reference.
It's publicly owned.
Anyway,
I'm public.
If you want to go ahead and talk about our meeting with Lord Summerisle.
Hell yes, I do. Christopher Lee enters the movie with big dick energy from behind a chair. And I think this is the youngest I've ever seen Christopher Lee that he is not in horror makeup, because, he was the Hammer horror guy prior to this. Played the monster, hunted Dracula, lots of things. He's great in those films, but this is what comes when Christopher Lee tries to go, I want to break out of typecasting. I want to act as a guy. And boy, does he knock it out of the park, because he's just got this bemused, I don't want to say supervillain affectation. He's playing it grounded, but he comes off like he knows the score, he knows more than you're not asking the right questions. Just a hint of a smug grin on his face.
It's just a little bit sinister, but it's mostly just like a power thing. It's just he has the power of this in this conversation, and he knows it, and he is wielding it.
And so he tells about why he is the Lord of the Isle, because his grandfather, the first Lord Summerisle, was an agricultural specialist who adapted some fruits so that they could grow here in the combination of the volcanic soil of the Isle and the Gulf Stream air that comes around the Scottish Highlands. It's a perfect combination, and so with this and getting everyone back onto the old pagan religions, he converted the Isle, and they were prosperous, and that's why he's the man who gets to be in the castle. Old gods and new fruits together. And this pisses Howie off, but not in a way that he can confront. Because he knows he needs to ask a favor.
Yeah. He's sort of like dancing around the subject a little bit. He asks about, what of the true God? And Lord Summerisle just says, he's dead. And there's a really sharp zoom in when he says that. Howie just utterly shocked. He cannot fathom that a person would actually say that out loud to his face.
And it's great because it's the sort of thing that he can't argue. That's, what happened there, but not usually how most people would end that sentence with a full stop. It really is the ultimate way to sum up Lord Summerisle, just kind of disarming him the whole time. It's just, well, that god is dead, but our island is alive.
He knows exactly what he needs to say to checkmate this conversation at any point.
Eventually, Howie talks to him and asks if he can get permission to exhume the body of Rowan Morrison. And he is granted it.
Yep. And then he calls him a pagan. And this does not have the impact that he expects. And then,
basically just a nonverbal yes, so.
As he leaves, he does say, I'm interested in only one thing, the law, which is a lie.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
My man would just love to bring the hammer down on this island.
So, yeah, now that he is rattled even further, Some time passes and the grave is exhumed. There's a bit of a struggle to get it open, and they find a very fresh dead hair in there.
Yup.
The gardener thinks that this is really funny.
Which, I guess if you're expecting to find a corpse and all you find is a rabbit, it's like, oh, that's a relief.
Which is a kind of a fun callback to little girl calling Rowan a rabbit. There's clearly something up here.
Yeah.
So he charges back with the dead rabbit. He finds Miss Rose there. She's lounging by the fire, and Lord Summerisle is on the piano, and they are singing "The Tinker of Rye." And just as it's about to start getting dirty, he just throws the dead rabbit at them.
Yes.
And
another great Summerisle Owie exchange. Where is the body? Well, you're the detective. You tell me. So good.
And they basically don't tell him anything at all. They're just kind of amused at this.
Yeah, they're both smirking this whole time.
And so he recaps the child was reported missing, but also there's no such child, and also she's dead, and also no death certificate, and also there's a grave with no body in it. So he summarizes, I think Rowan Morrison was murdered under circumstances of pagan barbarity, which I can scarcely bring myself to believe is taking place in the 20th century. He will be reporting tomorrow, and he will demand an inquiry.
I will return to the mainland, get a full force of men, and I will be back here within the week.
Well, it's just as well, because if he was here for Mayday, he would be scandalized.
Mm-hmm. The two of them basically give a toodles as he leaves.
Yeah, they just start singing again, and I think the dead rabbit is just still there.
Oh yeah, they have no care for this. They're not even scandalized. They're just like, well, that's going to smell. I think that's the most.
So yeah, he then he just breaks into the Photoshop.
Yeah,
just charges right on in there and starts digging through the darkroom until he finds the photo itself, and he develops it. And oh my gosh, it's Rowan, and there's no crops next to her because the crops failed. She's a sacrifice.
So of course he does not leave the island and stays the night at the library.
Yeah, so he's in the library the next day, and he's reading this info dump that I watched it a few times. I really could not keep up with it. It's he's researching the Mayday festivals and what you do in them.
He finds one of those books that you have in a movie where you need to get someone the information that there would be no way they've... Basically, he finds the script and reads ahead 3 pages.
Yes.
It's one of those, because he's just reading off, Mayday pagans, if the crops fail, then clearly there would be a sacrifice to this specific god on this specific day in this specific way.
Maybe they set up a sign on the shelves that said, Sergeant Howie, look here.
And my favorite detail in this scene is that he is sitting at a too small table, and there's just this old woman who says nothing, but he keeps looking over at her for some reason, and she's just like,
So yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people just looking at him in this whole film, which is really funny.
Also, the priest wears the skin of the sacrifice is another detail in here.
Yes, that I think that's the last thing that he says. I don't recall that happening.
Nope, not at all. He just that's the one that makes him look up at the old woman, because he's muttering this out loud.
Yeah. It does turn out to be important that there are several mascots of the Mayday Parade, which is a man animal, which is a hobby horse at the head of the procession, a man woman, the sinister teaser, okay, and the man fool Punch. It's just literally Punch. That one from Punch and Judy. Privileged simpleton and king for the day. And let's see, there's a thing about 6 swordsmen putting their swords together in a 6-pointed star. Sometimes they sacrifice animals, sometimes virgins. And he decides out loud, Rowan's not dead.
So he tries heading out to his plane, and it does not go well.
Yep, it does not turn on. It's completely out of plane juice.
There's a nice little bit of insult to injury, which so much of his day is at this point, where he gets rowed out in the little schooner, and as the fisherman's rowing back to shore, he's like, Hey, get back here. Hey, come on.
The gaggle of old men that we saw from before is they're just sort of like hanging out nearby wearing masks and occasionally just like popping their heads up one at a time.
And he does eventually get picked up to get back onto the island, but
it's just a complete waste of time.
Oh yeah. Plane won't start, radio won't work. So he's stuck here for Mayday.
Yep.
And the festival begins.
Fortunately, 2 seconds later, he immediately sees a suspicious figure. There's a large bearded man in this like gigantic novelty dress, and there's like a horse head.
Oh yeah,
sticking
this
out
is
of the
our
front.
man beast. It's great.
Yeah, I guess based on the dialogue, I guess I have to call it a horse, but it's really abstract. Let's go. It's just like I guess horses are also all teeth, but
yeah.
It
is the tallest man in the village by a head, and he's just running around obscenely nimbly between different sides of buildings and side streets, just ahead, prancing past in a different direction every time, just to be a dick.
Maybe it's like triplets.
I did wonder that. I did wonder if that reveal would come up, but it doesn't seem to.
No, he's just very good at very blatantly leading people to where they need to be.
Yep. Such a fun chase, too, with just a jaunty little tune behind it.
And the chase ends at a party in the graveyard. They're having a swell time. Lord Summerisle is there. And it's time for a speech. Party's over, and everybody reassemble at Town Hall at 3:00, and we will begin the parade. And he describes in detail the full route that they will be taking. Just in case, anybody in the audience doesn't know off the top of their head.
Mm-hmm. A procession, and then the sacrifice.
This is probably where you should be picking up, like, even if you hadn't to this point, that something's up. This sure does seem like he's being led somewhere.
But he's so off-kilter and probably hasn't slept a lot at this point, which I imagine helps.
Yeah, and he's so horny.
All those times I wander into a murder cult when I'm just thinking with the wrong head.
Yeah, it's a classic mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they're going to have a sacrifice to Nuada and Avellino, I think.
I did not write down the names of the gods. God of the sun, God of the harvest.
Avellenau. He pronounced it a different way than I would have if I from just reading the subtitle. Anyway, it's not important. It's just there's a lot of little detail in basically everything in this movie.
This is Scotland. Don't expect things to come out like they're written.
Fair. And how he runs back to the incredibly sweet post office. May is there. She's just chopping up one of the creepiest person cakes that she has, just like slicing it in kind of alarming straight lines across the whole thing. I don't know. I don't know how you would cut that in a way that doesn't seem like you're murdering somebody.
Well, I know exactly how you would do that. To bring us back to music video talk, there's a Tom Petty video, Don't Come Around Here No More. You just cut the center out rather than cutting right above the navel and right below the crotch, which is where this is sliced. It's distinct.
So he tries to get her to see reason. He's telling her Rowan's still alive. You can help save her. And she just, again, just stonewalls him. Mm-hmm. And finally he announces he is going to charge through the whole town and look in every house, and anybody who gets in his way is getting arrested. There's a lot of arrest threats for this one guy that can barely finish a conversation.
Hell, does he even have cuffs? They never even come out.
I don't think so. She just says, "You'll simply never understand the true nature of sacrifice."
Mm-hmm.
And so the search begins.
The music that accompanies this is excellent because it's a mix of tension and overreach on his, sometimes the houses are empty and he's just rifling around. Sometimes he's shoving past or yelling at children.
It's sinister Benny Hill.
Yes. Easily my favorite. You know instantly what I'm talking about. When he starts going through a closet and a child just falls out when he opens a door.
Just face first.
And then she starts laughing and runs out of the room.
Good thing she didn't just shatter her nose doing that fun prank.
You do wonder what this child was doing. Oh, hey, that a-hole policeman from the aisles is running around. I can hear him rifling through the neighbors. I'm going to play the best joke.
Yeah, everybody in town seems to be playing with him, like children running around. Let me see. He finds two dolls in a compromising position. He gets mad.
Yes. People are setting up tableaus just to screw with him.
He notices a boat, and he just goes out there, nothing.
Yes, the empty shipping vessel.
He goes to the bread shop. This is probably my favorite. The baker is pulling out a human-sized, human-shaped bread.
Yep.
It's just there, and nobody really says anything about it. We just see it later. And the fish store has the fishmonger or whatever. In his closet, he has his costume, the Salmon of Knowledge.
Yes. I don't even know if we see him in the costume later. He's very proud of it.
We do see him. I did notice. We see everybody in their costumes when the parade starts.
I was looking for him. I must have missed him.
I think it is literally every single person that had a line in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he finishes at the funeral home, and there's like a body in one of them, but it's not the one he's looking for. So he just leaves.
Yep. Why didn't you look there sooner? I think that's the only. Yeah.
I thought it was like another prank, but no. I think it seemed like just an actual dead person just in there.
Yeah, I guess people will die on an island eventually.
Yeah. Maybe a little rude to just leave them in there in the middle of the summer heat, but I guess what are you going to do at this point?
Look, all our shovels are being prepared for the May Day festival, not for grave digging.
Finally, after much strife, he just crashes back into the inn. They're getting ready for festivities tonight, cleaning glasses and whatnot. He slams down a whiskey at this point. He's drinking now.
Mm-hmm.
And he says he's going to go lie down on his bed for half an hour. And the innkeeper is just like, you should probably just stay there for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
And so he lies down, he pretends to sleep, and The innkeep and his daughter are just outside his room with the door open, whispering like this. I don't really want to use the hand of glory on him.
Yes.
I thought I missed something at first.
No.
They're talking about the hand of glory. I'm like, oh, is that like some weird sleeping poison, maybe? And so she takes something, goes up into the room, does something, and then they both leave. Howie opens his eyes, and there's just a hand stuck on a candlestick, and it's on fire.
Every finger is burning.
What? What does that mean?
His reaction is to immediately kick that thing over and try and stomp it out.
Oh yeah, no, he does not tolerate the hand of glory.
He makes this Hank Hill bwah noise when he sees it. And I think that's an actual... Let me look this up, because I've heard that reference to pagan ritual.
It might be. I was not expecting it to be quite that literal. Anyway, he takes the candlestick and beats the innkeep on the head and steals his costume, because he is Man Punch.
Yeah, there is a hand of glory in old things, used in black magic spells. Not always a candle. Not specifically pagan. I learned something. And on my first time watching this, when I did not know where this was going, my thought was, oh, the innkeep must have been the one who sent the letter. All of this, well, maybe you should stay inside. Oh, this'll keep him under for the rest of the night. He's like, he must have been the one he's trying to protect him.
Like it's sort of a tragedy that he doesn't realize that this man is actually the one person on his side, and he is the one person that he assaults.
Yep.
Okay.
And that
would make sense. That is not what happens.
Yep. That was just what I thought originally. It's like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah, I don't really remember exactly what I thought. It's watching it again this week. I mostly just remembered it was just a succession of scenes where Sergeant Howie just gets angrier and angrier and angrier, and then there's the Wicker Man.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time for the parade.
Mm-hmm.
Summer Isle has changed into the costume of the Man-Woman, and the Man-Animal and Man-Fool are also there. They're going down. They're leading the procession. Howie is not cutting enough capers here. They're very upset with him.
Summer Isle screaming at him, "McGregor, have you gotten into your own stash? Caper more, fool!"
And then some women just show up and start beating him with sticks. They're having, I think Willow and Miss Rose are among them. They're having a swell time.
This scene is so fun to watch because it's
hard. It's just completely knocks you off of like any sort of like sensible center that you may have from watching this movie to this point. It's just chaos.
The tension is out the window because you mentioned earlier that the search music sounds like tense Benny Hill. This is a Benny Hill skit with a weird old Ren Fair track behind it.
Yes, pretty much. So they end up at the Stonehenge, and there are 6 teens with swords who have been sort of dancing around. Like I mentioned before, everybody's there. Everybody's got a mask and a costume. So the teens with the swords, they come together into the 6-pointed star, and now it's time for every single person, one at a time, to stick their heads through it until the music stops.
Mm-hmm.
And which is kind of alarming. So they do this for a while. Sergeant Howie gets his turn. He is not trapped in whatever is going on. And then the music does stop, and the swords immediately close around a rabbit mask, which comes flying off, and he's just like, "Oh my, what?" He runs over to help, or to just do something. And it's okay. It's just Holly. She's short. She's got a head on her head. Oh, what fun! Let's go to the beach. Like, what
now to the beach.
What was that?
Yes.
What were they gonna do if it wasn't Holly? Did they know?
Yeah. No one ever answers that. It's something.
Ugh.
Because they definitely slash right through that thing. The head flies.
Yeah, it's just an immediate boom, gone. And so after all of this, we have reached the beach. There's a cart set up with several casks of ale, and Summer Isle has an axe. And so he just goes to town on them with the axe, sacrificing the ale to the ocean. It froths up like a lot. It looks kind of disgusting, but I don't know. It's a wonderful ritual, I guess.
There's worse things you could throw out to sea than 3 barrels of ale.
Sure. I just mean like in the middle of the sea and ale mess just seems like something I don't want to be near.
Fair.
So he's giving a speech as he does this. I don't remember what most of it was about, but
talking about the goddess of the sea, who is also the goddess of it's either the hunt or the harvest. There's both of these goddesses are dual natured, and this is our sacrifice to you, and it rolls down, and then a speech for the new year, and finally present the harvest. I forget what her title is.
Our more dreadful sacrifice is what I wrote down. Because up at a nearby cave, tied up and standing there, it's Rowan. She's there, so he immediately tears off to save her, because that's the smart and cool thing to do. So he just runs up. One of the sacrificers, I guess we'll call them, tries to stop him and just gets punched right in the face.
So this is one of those scenes where I get what they extrapolated on to make the Nicolas Cage Wicker Man remake.
Yeah.
It's moments like this, but they ramped this bit to 11.
Yeah, I was planning on having a let's talk about the remake section at the end.
Oh, I'll go into it more, but like I had forgotten there are so many one-punch strikes on people. It's just, oh yeah, and then they ratcheted it up.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just do this now. I rented the remake the other day. I've never actually seen the whole thing. I've just seen the clips that were going around at the time.
Oh, okay.
So I thought I was prepared, and no, turns out, like you said, everything is ramped up all the way. It's like a lot of it just seems like it was written by someone who just read the back of the box blurb. And decided to make a remake based on that. But also there are like entire scenes which are just completely reused, but like weirder and worse. Like the whole thing where he's yelling at where he's confronting the schoolgirls. Like that's almost word for word. I didn't actually finish the movie. I was very drunk when I made this decision. I've actually still got about 4 hours left on that rental, so I guess I'm going to do that when we're done here.
Okay, did you get up to one of the added scenes where someone tries to drown him under a bridge?
No, I didn't get that far. After he saw Rowan running around in a barn.
Yes.
And like a couple of scenes after that is where I stopped. It's just like, let's how do we do this with this movie where it's basically just hanging out in a small town for half an hour and just kind of like getting pissy. How do we do that? How about just a brutal car crash 2 minutes in? Like, what in the world are you people doing? What?
Also,
why have we replaced paganism and Jesus Christ and whatnot with the feminism and bees? What?
yeah, changing the orchards to bees and making it an all-female island is a very strange choice.
It's not quite all female. There's like some dudes around, but it's just what? Dude, they clearly did it so that he could be allergic to bees. Like, they're not subtle about that, but I don't know. I don't understand it, and I'm terrified to learn more.
I can't wait for you to see the ending then.
I've definitely seen the bee scene. That was everybody has seen that one. Wasn't that in like the unrated cut or something?
It's in both of them. You hear him in voiceover more. They show the bad CGI bees on him in the unrated cut.
Okay. Anyway, I do know about this one because he just he decks a woman in the face in like a full body bear fursuit.
Yes. It's not just decks. They have a full fist fight. That's why I was like, oh yeah, he is one punching a lot of people in that original movie.
Yeah, there's like you can see point A and you can see point B, and whatever the line is doing in the middle, it's not whatever you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's drunk.
Very.
So anyway, he frees the girl. Let's get back to the good movie.
Yes. Policeman and girl run into a cave.
Yes, they run into a cave. She, as he's untying her, she says, "Do you know what they're going to do? They're going to," and he just sort of like pushes her in. So she doesn't get to finish that sentence. So good job. A really groovy tune is playing throughout all of this.
This sounds like Scooby-Doo chase music.
Yes, a little bit. Just Celtic Scooby-Doo.
Oi, Scoob!
Oh no, I can see it.
See? You really don't have to change the costumes much either.
Yeah, no. I don't like it. Anyway, this chase goes on for a bit, and it's fine. It's a chase scene in a movie.
She suggests up here. That's the way out.
There's a tunnel higher up in the cave, which leads to an exit. And so he runs out, and oh hey, Lord Summerisle is here, and also a bunch of the village women. And oh hey, here's the rest of the village coming down over that hill. Weird.
Yep.
And so Rowan runs up and hugs her mother. She did it right. She did such a good job. Hugs everywhere, and they go away.
Yep, they're done here.
And yeah, if you want to, I imagine you would like to talk about this little scene.
It is wonderful because this is Christopher Lee getting to lay out, you are perfect sacrifice. You fit everything that the gods would love. You came here of your own free will. You, a lawman, have the power of a king. You are a virgin, and you are a fool. The harvest will be wonderful this year.
I feel like came here of his own free will is a little bit weaselly, considering.
Oh yeah,
but I guess it fits the letter.
I mean, when you're dealing with anything involving the Fae or old gods, etc., you absolutely are allowed to try and trick the gods. That's how those stories go.
Make sure to read the footnotes.
Mm-hmm. And try and get the god drunk so they don't either.
Yeah, it's basically like a mastermind speech. It's we controlled your every thought and actions. He at one point lists like what counts as acceptable sacrifices. Like animals are fine, I guess. Usually, a little child is better, but the right kind of adult, that's the ticket.
Mm-hmm. This is probably the only time Howie plays along. Because he says, if you kill me and it does nothing for your crops, you're the only person that'll do next time, Summer Isle. The King of the Isle's the best you can get. And the crops will not fail. This harvest will bloom.
Well, I sure hope so for his sake.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. You have accepted the role of king for a day, and who but a fool would do that? But you will be revered and anointed as a king. You will undergo death and rebirth. The rebirth, sadly, will not be yours, but that of our crops.
Ah, but I am a Christian. Even in death, it is I who shall live again, not your damn apples.
Yes, it's the rebirth resurrection thing, which it seems like a blurrier line than they make it out to be, but I'm not particularly religious, so I'll just take their word for it.
It's very interesting that through the whole movie, Howie has been using his faith as a bludgeon. How is there no Jesus here? But this is the only time he wields it defensively, and
it doesn't work.
Oh, it doesn't work, and also, in trying to build himself up, he gets vicious, I shall live again, not your damn apples, cursing them from inside the Wicker Man shortly. It's an interesting change of pace.
Yeah. It's the complete collapse of the Sergeant Howie archetype.
This is the most he has been in his faith the whole movie, and also only to try and put himself above this, knowing he is lost.
And as he goes, he starts yelling the Lord's name in vain.
Mm-hmm.
Which he never does until the moment that he sees the Wicker Man.
Oh, God! Oh, God!
Oh, Jesus Christ. So they cut his clothes off and do like a little bit of a weird ceremony. The women just start like anointing him with their hair. I'm not sure what that one was about, but they also wash his hands.
Yeah, it's a little bit ritual bath. It's a little bit, you get the sense they're trying to horn him up. I'm sure that's part of it. The lusts of a man for a sacrifice.
I guess that makes it tastier for the gods.
It's the only thing I can think of, especially based on the expressions Woodward is making.
Sure. But now it is time to keep your appointment with the Wicker Man.
Which is definitely going to be the clip I put at the start of this.
So this is where it just completely falls apart. He starts screaming, "Listen, this is murder. Your faith sucks. It's fake. Science killed your fruits, and this will not help." And they don't listen. They have their own thing that they're going to start doing.
At first, they start crowd surfing him up the hill.
Yes, they carry him and finally eventually just sort of drag him the rest of the way, in which they see the Wicker Man, which is believe it or not, a giant man made out of wicker.
My favorite detail, which is underrated, is that he is not the only sacrifice.
No, not even close.
Yeah, there are little cages built into each of the arms where there is wood around little chicken coop wire with various animals. I think was there a goat?
I think there was like one of everything.
Yeah. I just remember the one that, is that a goat? How did you get that in there? That seems like it sucked.
I did read somewhere that apparently it was a nightmare to get those animals in and out for various shots. Because
I can only imagine.
You can't just set a bunch of animals on fire in your film, even in 1973.
Yeah.
So So yes, at the base, there are men with torches and a whole. I don't even know what you call that. Just the thing, the kindling, I guess. Pyre, yeah, pyre is the word.
Mm-hmm.
And
by this point, the big man who was in the hobby horse is just hauling Howie over his shoulder.
Yeah, he can't do anything. He's completely helpless. And so they throw him inside and lock him. It's done now. There's no way out. They begin singing the final song, "Summer Is a Comin' In," and Howie tries to reverse pray at them. Basically, he tries to counter it with his own faith. But the faith of many and also fire is too much for him.
It's a combination of "Lord, take me, Lord, save me in your arms," and "Oh, Lord, damn these people to the flames." And it's back and forth, and the whole time the song is just rising.
And it is pretty harrowing.
Oh, yeah.
Again, going back to the remake, I can only imagine how much they ramped this up. But even in this, it's like a bunch of tight close-up shots of just it's extremely claustrophobic in there, and you can see the fire raging around him, and it's no thank you.
I do not know how that shot was put together, but yes, it is incredibly unpleasant because it is licking at his back. There's very controlled fire before the camera, but this does not look like it was a fun scene to shoot.
No, not at all. But it was worth it in the end, I hope.
Very memorable scene on a lot of levels, and God help you if you have any kind of phobia relating to like 7 things in this part.
Yeah, and surrounding the Wicker Man in a large circle, which we see from above a few times. It's just the whole town. They are loving this. They are dancing. And there's just this one man in the middle just screaming for help.
And eventually there's no more screaming.
Yep. The last thing he screams is a bit unclear. The subtitles say it is Daniel, which I believe is a biblical reference, so it could be that. I did not find a clear answer, so that's the best we can get. Some random person on IMDb suggested it might be Jesu, which would also fit. It's just a cacophony of fire, and he's screaming.
Yeah, he's being drowned out by the song and the crackling before he's gone.
It's hard to hear, but regardless, he held true to his faith to the last, as much as is possible.
Mm-hmm. And the final shot we see is the sea as the Wicker Man collapses, and we just stare out over the ocean where the sun lowers to the song and credits.
The end. So yeah, this is a very unique movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of the elements you can sort of point to as various things. It's not like just completely invented whole cloth or anything, but the combination of everything that they did is just something that I really can't think of anything else that like even comes close to it. A common horror trope is the crazy cult, which the main character is I guess both unable and unwilling to try to understand.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like a much more like subtle and grounded version of that than you see a lot of the time. Like
yeah. Any comparison I can make to this is only a 2 out of 3. Like, if we strip the musical aspect, you could go, oh, Midsommar.
Sure.
If we take out the specifics of it and it's just horror and musical, you end up with something like a Rocky Horror or Little Shop of Horrors.
Sure.
Apparently that's the only way you can sing is if you throw that word into your title.
Wasn't that one Tim Burton movie, the barber something?
Oh, yeah, that Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd.
Yes.
I don't think that one has that word in the title. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's the demon barber of Fleet Street. So yeah, you're correct. I'm overreaching again. But yeah, nothing quite has the exact same combination of elements as this film, and it's really hard to make a straight comparison, and it stands alone for that.
It's gorgeous. It's got a fantastic soundtrack. You can it is up on like Spotify, and I assume the other music services like it. So definitely
I'm sure there's been some vinyl release of this in recent years as a specialty thing, and I may start looking for that. That's right, I'm one of those.
That's fine. You can be one of those. It's cool. As long as you're like, there are levels of reasonability of audiophile stuff. Like, I just like the sound of vinyl. Cool. Vinyl is better than CDs. I don't know. And it's just it's like this RCA cable is gilded with magic rocks. What?
No. I don't get to the magic rock point. I have magic rocks for other things, but not for audio.
Anyway, that's all I have to say about the Wicker Man. I think I love it. It's so weird. It's so unique and just captivating, really. So, what are we gonna be watching next time?
So, I have been picking a bunch of artsy-fartsy films, and I want to lean in the opposite direction this next time. I want to give you something that you could just really go wild with. So,
are we going dumpster diving?
Oh, no. We're not going dumpster diving.
Okay.
I've decided I'm going to do something that both is not played out, but will also really give us something to talk about. And I wanted to do... There's a show called Sleepy Hollow, and the writers said how they made it work is they tried to write jokes that were one branch higher than the lowest hanging fruit.
Okay.
Still kind of obvious, but not the instant thing you thought of. So rather than go really big commercial success that I can pivot off of The Wicker Man with Nick Cage, we're going to not do Mandy. We're going to do The Color Out of Space from 2019.
Okay. Color Out of Space. What is that about? I have never heard of this.
Oh, it is an adaptation of the Lovecraft story.
Okay.
Except it was made in 2019, and it turns out by this point you can do a Lovecraft adaptation without having to talk about things like his cat or the spooky races.
Yeah, there's always been some aspects of it that terror of the unknown is just like completely... that's always been a huge draw, and then there's like also that other stuff on the side that...
Yeah, this was a story that did not have any of that to begin with, but it's also adapted for a modern take, so it's not just a farmhouse in the 20s. No, it's an actual family drama, and we're in one of those periods where Nick Cage is putting his whole ass into work again, so this is a nice one with the unexpected return of Richard Stanley to directing, ever since he got fired from the Island of Dr. Moreau in 96.
Okay. All right, so
You're
yeah,
in for a treat.
I'm interested. Yeah, we'll be checking that out next time. It looks like it is available on Shudder or AMC Plus, and also, as usual, the rental places for a few bucks. Catch us then. If you enjoy what you've heard, just find someone you know that might like to hear people rambling about horror movies for an hour and a half or so. And, just pass it along. We have absolutely zero budget here. So any little bit helps. And on Twitter, it is at Cheap Scares, just one word. You could also email cheapscarescast, also one word, at Gmail. Or we also have a YouTube page. So if you want to just toss a comment on there on one of the episodes, there's video versions of that. You don't have to watch the video versions, that's fine. But if you have something you want to say, that's a good place to do it. And we'll catch you next time.
See you around.
Goodbye.